January the 22nd in 1835, he and Lucinda were married, and their marriage records are on record in Ross County down in Chillicothe, and we've gone down and got copies of those. Let's see, Lucinda was Lucinda Downs was born January the 12th, 1814, and she was the daughter of David and Sarah Murphy Downs. And they were all representatives of Loudoun County, Virginia. After the marriage, they settled on the same section where he spent the rest of his life. So, did you say 65 years he'd been on this ground waiting? I want to shut it off a little bit.
We'll just skip it out where you can read.
Okay. After their marriage, they were settled on the same section where they, well, I said that before, so you'll have to edit some of this out.
Okay.
Where they'd spent the rest of their life. Their domicile being made of logs with the puncheon floor and just a stick chimney. The forest stood in its primitive beauty, no clearing having been done at this time. Indians were plentiful and were stampeded about them. Oh dear. Watching with the jealous eye of the encroachment of the settlers on their land. Mr. and Mrs. Campbell spent the prime of their life enduring all the privations and hardships that attended the settlers of a new country. Their corn was pounded into a mortar, well, that'd be something, or ground by hand, or ground by a hand stone. Oh dear, I'd have to read this over, Stephen, first. Oh dear. And their clothing was of their own manufacture. Their first summer was spent in their cabin without any floor. They had no floor in their cabin that first year. And they had a hole at the side served as a place of ingress. The fire was made upon the ground and the smoke seeking its own outlet. Yet they were happy and looking for better days to come. In 1880, finds them in the possession of an excellent home and a farm of 185 acres, and everything about them to make life enjoyable. They have 8 children, and it names them Martha Ann at home, Eliza, now Mrs. Simon Rice, and that is my great-great-grandmother, Mrs. Aunt Sade Stroman, William Wesley, James W., Alfred M., George W., and George W. Mr. and Mrs. Campbell, as well as the entire family, are members of the M.E. Church, being among the first of their members, and Mr. Campbell is one of the founders of the Canaan United Methodist Church, and they're buried in the Canaan Cemetery, right out along the road. Okay. I don't think that's much better than the other one. You want me to read John's obituary?
Oh, sure.
I have in my possession the original obituary of John Campbell. Funeral services for Mr. Campbell were held in the Methodist Episcopal Church at Canaan on December the 3rd, 1887, in the presence of a large congregation and relatives and other citizens. The deceased was born in the state of Virginia, December the 1st, 1887, and died at the age of 77 on December the 1st, 1887. His father died when he was 1 year old, and at the age of 5 he moved with his mother to Ohio, and at the age of 12 settled on the farm where he died, where he had lived for 65 years. At the age of 24 was when he was united with his wife, Lucinda Downs, with whom he had lived 47 years, and having died 6 years, and she has passed away 6 years ago. He was the father of 9 children, all of whom still live, with 24 grandchildren, attended the funeral. And Mr. Camel was a member of the Methodist Episcopal Church for 45 years, having joined with his wife in 1842. There are 6 children, and nearly all of their grandchildren are members of the same. Funeral services were conducted by Reverend J. Whitworth, pastor of the church, and choir of the Caledonia ME Church furnished the music, for which the bereaved family expressed their warm appreciation and gratitude. I don't think I need to read any more of that. I won't read the thank you notice. I don't think it's much better than the first one was, do you? Huh?
The Rice Cemetery, can you give us an idea of what relatives of ours might be buried in that
Quite a
Rice
few.
Cemetery?
It's buried on, it's his farm, you know, where the cemetery is. That's where he lived. It's right back of Violet and Mabel's, that road right there. You turn south. There's a lot of the Rice kids are buried there. We've got all of the, we can get the Rice Cemetery, we got all the record who's buried there. Jacob's buried there, and
Tell him about the little stone that we smuggled in there.
oh, you didn't do that. That's over to Canaan. That's the Canaan Cemetery. Where you put the stone over there? What stone you mean?
Well,
That twin.
you know, it was out there in the tool house.
Yeah, that's over to Canaan. That's not in Rice Cemetery.
Oh, that's right. Excuse me.
But you can tell that if you want.
No, that's.
Wished we had a
that's
picture of
irrelevant.
Jacob. We got a picture of Simon, though. Can you get a picture of him on there?
Mm-hmm.
After having served with General Harrison through Central Ohio in the War of 1812, Jacob Rice returned to Fairfield County, Ohio, and married Miss Lady Wickheiser on May 4th, 1815. In 1821, they migrated to what is now Canaan Township, Morrow County, and started life anew in a tent near a spring. That's back of the house where Violet Stafford now lives, which is yet flowing. Here they built a log cabin, cleared land, and raised a family. They are buried in the Rice Cemetery on that land, on a knoll overlooking the acres they cleared and tilled. Their first family certificate and medal was accepted for them by their great-great-granddaughter, Dolores Ruth Gray Arnold.
You read by number. My first
Okay.
family numbers. 88.
Her Ohio number is 878. That's almost a pioneer in that organization.
Now, I forgot what else.
Yeah.
Oh,
And here's another. Jacob Rice was born in Chester County, Pennsylvania, March the 7th, 1796. Migrated to Fairfield County, Ohio, with his parents while still a youth. Married there to Lydia Wickheiser, and with their young family came to Canaan Township in 1821, which was at that time a part of Marion County, to become early pioneers, as told by these clippings taken from early newspapers. And some more,
what more?
well,
Want to read 'em, Daddy?
why don't you click it off, maybe we can find. In his later years, he
Well-
must have had Alzheimer's or something,
Don't
and he
read
lived around with all the children. He'd go from one to the other, and each time he was living with them, he'd give them some land. And here he was giving the same land 3 or 4 times. And there's a book about this big, the court proceedings where they got it straightened out. I don't think they ever did get straight.
Well, I don't
The
know.
family all each fought for what they thought was theirs, and it was a mess.
And my great-grandpa, Mom's grandpa, was born over there at Violet's house, in an old house. Of course, they tore it down after they moved there, see. But anyway, he was born in that house, and he never lived anyplace else, Mom's grandpa. That picture of that man over there married the Camel girl, Eliza Camel. But her people were,
Maybe it is what I'm wondering.
maybe it's in the other one? What is there else that isn't in this?
Must be in the other one, I guess.
Here's Leesburg, where we went.
Mm-hmm.
This other one, Stephen, we need. When Lydia died, but I couldn't half read that. You know, we got. Here's Simon and her. Look here.
Mm-hmm.
And that's her marriage license, Stephen. You know, that's strange. You didn't have to go and get your own marriage license. His brother went and got his marriage license for Simon. George went and got him. KL. No, the Rices are back here, it says. The Rices are back of this. This is all. And then,
Well, that's just substantially what you wrote.
yep. It isn't what I wrote, it's just what I read. Here's the Lydia Rice's obituary, and that's about all there is. Well, anyway, he lived around with the, and that's his marriage license. I thought we had more than that, too. I don't see anything.
Well, that's what I say. These books have got to be
Well, then we better get at it.
organized better.
That's Sarah Middleton when she passed away, great-grandma. And here's her marriage license. I've got my great-grandparents, both their marriage license on Mom's side. The Rices and the Middletons. And I got Grandma Middleton's too. It's up in the house up there. That's another thing. I'm telling you. Thomas Middleton. Well, see, we went alphabetically, and it's it's on those little papers in between them that. I don't know, Stephen. Grandpa will have to think up something. It's Lucy Doran waiting, Grandma Gray's mother. You want to know about the Dorans, Grandpa? Should we start? We'll share a little bit about this farm. Now, you don't have it on yet, do you? Can we, how would you say it? We share a little bit about the history of the farm since the Middletons have had it.
You have to say
The farm became, the farm,
we live on a farm at the Middletons, bought in 19 whatever it was.
1912, they moved here. But we don't need to say when they bought it, but they moved here in 1912.
Yeah.
And my sister and older sister and older brother were born here in this place. It'd be their grandparents' home, see? And then my folks inherited the place, like we said, something we read in this before.
Yeah, we'll just go ahead and tell it like that, and maybe I can ad-lib a little bit.
Okay.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Dolores Arnold, a great-great-granddaughter of the Rices, Simon Rice, and his wife, Eliza Camel Rice, and their daughter moved to this farm in 1912, which would be my grandmother, and it's been in our family possession ever since. My grandfather and grandmother lived here for a number of years. And after they passed away, my folks moved in here and lived here to their deaths. And while they were here, we purchased the farm. And we have built us a home back of the old house, older home. And we have lived here ever since. We built this in 1975 and moved in August. And what else about it? This farm has 63 acres, and we have a creek that runs through real close to our new house. And there's a spring on here that's been here for years, ever since our people have been here. And in later years, we have acquired the deeds for way, way back. I can't think how far back they are, but we've got a lot of the deeds. And the only thing about it, our son is going to come here in another year and possibly remove the older house and build a new house for he and his wife. They're now in Virginia, and they're anticipating retiring and moving back to this area. We hope for many years. We're sure hoping to have somebody close by, since our grandsons are so scattered. This one with the movie outfit is in Hawaii a good bit of the time, and still in China. Now, you add something to it. What can you think about my grandpa? You could say where,
After the death of your father, we purchased a place and assisted your mother in her later days.
in her last years.
And at the time we acquired the place, there were 10 old outbuildings, which the farmers in days gone by thought they had to have, but we removed them all, and then we later built a house where we now live on the banks of the creek. We call it Sycamore Bend, a bend in the creek that's lined with sycamore trees. So that gives it a name, and that's what we use for our email address.
And back in years gone by, my grandfather had 2 big chicken houses. He raised chickens, and he raised potatoes and sold to the restaurants in different places in Marion. And then later years, after my parents were here, my dad raised ducks, and we sold to a hatchery clear over in LaRue, Ohio, the Ridgeway Hatchery, for years. We looked forward every weekend on Saturdays to going with Dad to take the eggs over to LaRue, which was a big outing for us. No, what else? Can you think of anything else?
Grandpa, how about the 10 outbuildings that were here? What type of buildings were here? And what became of them? What became of them in the end?
Yeah, we just plain destroyed them.
Okay, you got a little time.
One of them became several clocks that have been disturbed in the family. But
The old granary. He used boards from the old granary, which he cleaned off with the, he had to sand them all out and use them.
but the building consisted of, as she mentioned, 2 chicken houses,
Garage.
tool sheds, outdoor toilet.
Well, there was a granary,
granaries,
coal house,
coal
corn
houses.
crib, brooder house. There was a little wooden brooder house and a metal brooder
Metal
too.
brooder.
And
They were all in terrible shape.
But Grandpa had a chicken house on the west side here, west from the house, and had a well there for the water. And the one to the east, he had a spring where he carried water up to the chickens.
Part of the one chicken house is still standing. We've rebuilt it, used for storage.
Made it into a little barn, improved barn. Did you tell him that you remodeled Mother's house?
Well, we spent a lot of time and money making Grandma's house a little
More
more
pleasant.
convenient.
Modernized it with a furnace and a
Bathroom, which
Changed the cellarway and all that stuff.
new doors and windows,
New roof, the first thing.
new roof, 2 or 3 times.
Yeah. which she enjoyed very much. She especially liked the back porch. Sat on the back
She
porch.
never had a back porch until we built that one. And we observed her several times in cold weather, sitting out there all huddled up, enjoying her back porch. We tried to make life a little more comfortable for her. I hope we did.
Well, you might say that our kids spent a lot of time here. Patty was here a lot. Everybody seemed to like it. Patty wasn't here after it got remodeled, but I mean, she was here an awful lot. She didn't mind the inconveniences.
We really ought to